started a week ago. Every night I'd find myself in the same dream, a dark, endless hallway with flickering lights, and every night she was there. A woman in a tattered white dress standing at the far end, her face hidden beneath a curtain of long black hair. At first, she didn't move, just stood there, silent, but each night she got closer. Last night I finally saw her face. Pale, hollow eyes, a mouth that stretched too wide into a grin. I woke up gasping, heart racing. The room was dark, but something felt off. My phone buzzed. A notification. A photo. My stomach dropped. It was a picture of me, asleep in bed, and in the corner of the image, she was there. This wasn't just a nightmare. She had followed me out of my dreams. I barely slept after that. Every creak in the apartment made me jump. When morning came, I told myself it was just a glitch. Maybe I'd left my phone open and it took the picture by accident. But then I saw the mirror. Long, deep scratches ran down the glass, as if something with sharp nails had clawed at it. I touched my arm, feeling a dull sting. Lifting my sleeve, my breath hitched. 3 fresh scratches ran down my skin, identical to the ones on the mirror. I wasn't alone last night. A message appeared on my phone. No sender, just 2 words. Let me in. My hands trembled. I deleted it, but my reflection in the scratched mirror didn't move right away. It stayed still for a second too long. Then, slowly, it smiled. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, waiting in the dark corners of my mind. I kept the lights on, heart pounding at every noise outside my window. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail. I hesitated before playing it. Magic filled my ears, then breathing. Slow, raspy breathing. Then a voice. Why won't you sleep? I dropped my phone. I knew if I closed my eyes, she'd be there. But exhaustion pulled at me, my body betraying my fear. When I finally drifted off, the dream came immediately. The hallway again. But now she was only a few feet away, her grin wider, unnatural, her lips moved, whispering soundlessly. I turned to run, but my feet were stuck. Her hand reached for me, cold fingers brushed my face. I woke up screaming, and the scratches on my arm were deeper. I couldn't take it anymore. I set up a camera before going to bed, determined to see what was happening while I slept. The dream came again. She was inches from me now. I could feel her breath. You can't escape. I jolted awake, drenched in sweat. With shaking hands, I grabbed my phone and checked the footage. At first, I just saw myself tossing and turning. Then, at 3:12 a.m., the screen glitched, and suddenly she was there, standing at the foot of my bed, not moving, just staring. Then she turned her head toward the camera and whispered, "Watching won't help." The screen cut to static. I slammed the phone down, heart racing. This wasn't just a dream. She was real, and she wasn't leaving. Morning light did nothing to ease my terror. My hands trembled as I replayed the video, hoping I had imagined it. But she was there, clear as day. I rushed to the bathroom to splash water on my face. That's when I saw it, a black mark on my wrist. It wasn't a bruise or a cut. It looked like a handprint. Her handprint. A chill ran through me. My phone buzzed. Another message, no sender. Getting closer, I dropped it and stumbled back, heart pounding. I needed help. Grabbing my keys, I rushed out of the apartment. As I reached my car, I caught my reflection in the window. She was right behind me. Her mouth moved, whispering something soundless. Then, just as I turned, she was gone. But the mark on my wrist burned. I needed answers. Desperate, I found a psychic downtown, a woman named Evelyn who specialized in nightmares. She took one look at my wrist and went pale. "This isn't just a spirit," she whispered. "She's bonded to you now." I swallowed hard. How do I stop her? Evelyn hesitated. "She doesn't just haunt dreams, she feeds on them." My blood ran cold. "Every time you sleep, she takes a part of you," Evelyn said. "And if she takes enough..." She didn't need to finish. I already knew. I'd seen it in my dreams. Soon, I wouldn't wake up. I needed to break the bond before she took everything. I tried to stay awake. I really did. but exhaustion always won. This time, the hallway was gone. I was in my apartment, in my bed, and she was standing over me. Her head twitched, her grin stretching wider, her voice echoed in my head. Almost time. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. Her hand pressed against my chest. I woke up gasping, clutching my heart. My reflection in the mirror didn't move right away. It stayed still for a beat too long. Then it smiled. I couldn't sleep. Dark circles lined my eyes. My body felt weak. I could barely think. Evelyn called me. "You need to fight back," she said. "You need to take control." But how? She suggested lucid dreaming. If I could become aware in my dreams, maybe I could push her out. It was my last hope. That night, I whispered to myself, "This is a dream. I am in control." When the dream came, I was ready. She stood at the foot of my bed, but this time I didn't run. I stood up. She tilted her head. Surprised, I clenched my fists. "This is my dream." For the first time, she took a step back. I kept practicing. Each night I fought back. She would reach for me and I would push her away. She screamed in rage, but I didn't wake up terrified anymore. I was learning until one night she changed the rules. I was dreaming, standing in my apartment, but then I heard a knock at my real-life door. A Jew inside my dream. It echoed through both worlds. A chill ran through me. I turned toward my front door. It swung open, and standing there was me. The figure in the doorway was me, but something was wrong. Her eyes were hollow, her skin unnaturally pale. She smiled, a stretched, eerie grin. "I'm almost here," she whispered. I tried to move, but my body felt paralyzed. The dream wasn't mine anymore. She was in control. I gasped awake. The room was silent, but the air was thick, suffocating. Then, a sound. "Knock? Knock?" My breath hitched. The exact same knock. From my dream, slowly, I turned toward the front door. My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob. Something inside me screamed, "Don't open it." I stopped. Then, from the other side of the door, a whisper. "Let me in." I backed away from the door, heart hammering in my chest. The whispering stopped. Silence stretched on. When I finally gathered the courage to check, my stomach dropped. Deep, claw-like scratches covered the door. Fresh, as if something had been inside trying to get out. I turned on every light in the apartment. I needed proof. I wasn't losing my mind. My phone buzzed. A photo. I hesitated before looking. It was a picture of my bedroom door, taken from inside my apartment, and at the edge of the frame, she was there, watching, waiting. I tried to leave my apartment, but she was always with me. Every shadow looked like her shape. Every reflection lingered too long. Every whisper in the wind sounded like her voice. I didn't sleep for 2 days. My vision blurred. My thoughts felt heavy. Then the hallucinations began. I saw her everywhere. In the coffee shop window, in my rearview mirror, standing at the edge of my bed. I blinked and she was gone. But the moment I closed my eyes, she was waiting. Desperate, I called Evelyn again. "She's not just haunting you," she said. "She's trying to become you." My breath caught. "She's wearing you down," Evelyn continued. "Once you're weak enough, she'll step in and take your place." I gripped the phone. How do I stop her? Silence. "Then you need to confront her. Face her in the dream and take back control." That night, I forced myself to sleep. The dream came instantly. She stood before me, smiling. For the first time, I stepped forward instead of running. She frowned. "I'm not afraid of you," I said. Her grin vanished. But then she laughed. "You think you're in control now," she whispered. Behead I could react, the dream shifted. I was back in my apartment. The lights flickered. The air thickened. My body felt heavy. I wasn't waking up. Panic surged through me. I tried to move, but my limbs wouldn't respond. Her voice echoed all around. "You brought me in." My heart pounded. No, this wasn't right. This wasn't a dream anymore. She had pulled me into her world, and she had no intention of letting me go. I turned in circles, but there were no doors, no exits, only endless darkness stretching around me. Then I heard her. The whispers multiplied, filling the air. You were mine the moment you dreamed of me. I ran, but the darkness shifted, closing in. I screamed, "Let me wake up." She stepped forward, her grin widening. "No," she said. Then her hands grabbed my face, cold, empty. Darkness swallowed me whole. I gasped, awake. But I wasn't in my bed. I was in a coffin. The walls were tight, suffocating. I clawed at the lid, but it wouldn't budge. My breathing grew ragged. Was this real? Then a voice, soft, distant. "Wake up." I froze. The voice wasn't hers. It was mine. A flash of light. Then I was standing in front of my own reflection, but the woman in the mirror wasn't me. She smiled. Then she stepped forward. Out of the mirror, she wasn't trying to take over anymore. She already had. I reached out, but my hand hit glass. No, I was inside the mirror now. I pounded against it, but the other me, just maybe weeks. I watched her live my life. She went to work, she answered texts, she smiled in the mirror. No one knew, but then she did something I never did. She slept, and when she did, I stepped through. She opened her eyes, saw me, and screamed. I grabbed her wrists. "You stole my life." She struggled, but this time I was stronger. I pushed her back toward the mirror. Her grin wavered. "You can't get rid of me." "Yes, I can." I shoved her inside. She vanished. The mirror shattered, and for the first time in weeks, I woke up. Everything felt normal. I checked my reflection. It moved when I did. I went to work, spoke to friends, slept without fear, but sometimes I swear I see something. A shadow in the glass, a whisper in the wind, a reflection that doesn't quite match. Tonight my phone buzzed. A message. No sender. I hesitated before opening it. 2 words. "Miss me?" My reflection smiled, the lights flickered, and the dream began again. I dropped my phone, my breath coming in short gasps. She was back. I ran to the mirror, staring into my reflection. It was just me, no eerie smile, no delay, but deep down I knew the truth. She wasn't gone. That night, I forced myself to stay awake, but exhaustion won. I opened my eyes to her world again, the endless darkness, the whispers, and then she stepped forward, her grin wider than ever. "You thought you won," she whispered. I tried to run, but I couldn't move. She placed a hand on my chest. Cold, burning pain shot through me. I gasped awake, clutching my heart. My reflection flickered. For a split second, I saw her face staring back at me. She was still inside me, waiting. The next day I felt different, weaker. My hands trembled, my head ached. My skin was pale. It was like she was draining me. Evelyn called. "She's merging with you," she warned. "If you don't stop her soon, you'll disappear." My stomach twisted. "How do I end this?" She hesitated. "You have to destroy her anchor." Anchor? I searched my apartment, looking for anything connected to her. Then I found it. The first photo, the one of me sleeping. The moment she first appeared. If this was her anchor, I had to burn it. I took the photo to the sink, hands shaking. As the flames licked the edges, my body convulsed. I fell to my knees, gasping. A piercing scream echoed through my head. "It was her! You can't get rid of me!" she shrieked. I pushed through the pain, forcing myself up. The photo turned to ash, smoke curling into the air. Then, silence. I stumbled to the mirror. My reflection looked normal, no delays, no eerie grin. Was it over? I hoped so, but deep down, I wasn't sure. For the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. No dreams, no whispers. Morning came and the world felt lighter. I checked my phone, no messages. Maybe she was truly gone. But then, my phone buzzed. A missed call. June, my own number. My stomach twisted. A voicemail with shaking hands. I pressed play, at first just static. Then my own voice whispered, "You made a mistake." The line went dead. Chills crawled up my spine. She was still here. somewhere, watching, waiting. I grabbed my keys and rushed to Evelyn's. She took one look at me and paled. "She's inside you now," I gritted my teeth. "How do I stop her?" Evelyn hesitated. "You have to enter the dream one last time and trap her there." It was dangerous, but I had no choice. That night I let the dream take me. I opened my eyes to her world. She stood before me, her eyes burning with rage. "You can't escape me," she hissed, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I grabbed her wrist. Her eyes widened. This time, I was pulling her in. I held on tight, forcing her into the darkness. She screamed, clawing at me, but I didn't let go. The world trembled, shadows swirled, and then silence. I gasped awake. For the first time, the mirror was empty, no whispers, no shadows. She was gone, or so I thought. That night, my phone buzzed. A picture. It was of me, sleeping, and in the corner of the frame. She was smiling. The dream wasn't over. It had only just begun. I stared at the picture, my blood running cold. She was still here. The walls of my apartment felt like they were closing in. Every shadow seemed to move. I called Evelyn, my voice shaking. "She's supposed to be gone," I cried. Evelyn's silence was heavy. Then she whispered, "She's found a new anchor." I looked at the picture again. It wasn't just an image, it was a door. And as I watched, her head turned toward me. A slow grin stretched across her face. I dropped my phone. The lights flickered. And behind me, a soft whisper. "You let me in." I ran, out of the apartment into the street, but she was everywhere. Directions in car windows, shadows in alleyways, her voice in the wind. "You belong to me now," she whispered. I stumbled, gasping for air. Evelyn had said something before. An unfinished dream lingers. I had to end it completely. I forced myself to sleep. This time, I didn't wait for her. I hunted her down. I found her in the endless void, her grin faltering. "This is my dream," I growled. She lunged at me, but I tore her apart. Shadows exploded around me. Then, nothing. Just silence. I woke up feeling lighter. No nightmares, no whispers, no eerie messages. I checked my phone, no pictures. Days passed, then weeks. For the first time, I felt free. But deep down, a part of me hesitated to believe it. One night, I stood in front of my mirror. My reflection looked normal. I smiled. It smiled back. I turned to leave, and the reflection... My heart stopped. Slowly, I turned back. The reflection tilted its head, then whispered, "Did you really think it was over?" I slammed the mirror with my fist. Cracks spread across the glass. The reflection laughed. "No matter how many times you fight me," she whispered, "I'll always be here." A deep chill filled the room. My vision blurred, my body felt heavy. I wasn't awake anymore. I was falling back into the darkness, back into her world. I screamed, reaching for something, anything, but there was nothing, just the endless void. And her voice, whispering over and over, "You'll never wake up." I opened my mouth to scream, and then everything went black.